It brings back memories of the heartfelt cards, letters, and notes that many of you have written to my wife. King Charles declared that Camilla's royal title would be temporarily revoked owing to a terrible revelation, a surprising declaration that has shocked the royal family and the globe. The king just moments ago stood in front of the cameras, his voice quivering as he made a momentous announcement that would rock the monarchy to its foundation. The royal jewels were the source of the betrayal. Furthermore, this finding would have far-reaching repercussions. The silence of Clarence House was broken a minute ago when King Charles spoke. The world with sorrow in it. The decision broke centuries of royal custom and went into force immediately. Camilla, the queen consort, would forfeit her position and title while the matter was being looked into further. A choice that caused discord in the royal household. The family itself sensed the gravity of the situation, as did the general public. Even family loyalty must yield to the monarchy's unwavering dedication to integrity, the king said in a rare and unprecedented gesture, his face furrowed with grief. Like a funeral bell for Camilla's reign, the announcement echoed from a vast room filled with royal history. The reason for this severe move was as stunning as the words reverberated through the air. The investigation linked a sapphire brooch that had formerly belonged to Princess Diana to a private sale connected to Camilla's own estate after it turned up at a Geneva auction. No member of the royal family could have foreseen the disaster that resulted from this finding. Charles was forced to take action when what started out as a private matter swiftly turned into a public crisis. Once a treasured item in Princess Diana's personal collection, the brooch was vanished for many years. It had now come to light at a private auction, sparking a controversy. Nobody could have predicted that. Concerns were raised right away when experts verified that the brooch's etching matched one that had long been thought to be lost to time. Suspicions of misappropriation were quickly aroused when investigators connected the sale to Camilla's private residence, Ray Mill House. The centuries-old trust of the royal family was now in jeopardy. Palace staff struggled to control the fallout for days. The royal family disagreed behind closed doors over how to respond to the issue. Ever watchful, Princess Anne requested explanations. She was the first to recommend a thorough examination of the royal jewels registry, which would soon reveal the long-kept secrets of the royal vault. Prince William, who has always stood out for family values, demanded openness in the meanwhile. Catherine gently pressed her husband to take immediate action. There was a noticeable sense of anxiety in Clarence House. William and Catherine were getting ready to face Charles about what they considered to be an essential move for the future of the kingdom. However, the royal family had to face the more sinister realities that were concealed within its walls, even as they readied themselves for what lay ahead. As the royal problem worsened, Princess Anne took the initiative. Anne, who was known for her straightforward style, was committed to finding the truth about the controversy around the brooch. Despite opposition from some quarters, she persisted in her demand to audit the royal jewelry registry, and it paid off. Unsettling disparities, missing documents, unauthorized transactions, and disparities pertaining to Camilla's estate were also discovered throughout the audit. These disclosures were disastrous for Charles's personal life as well as the standing of the monarchy. Camilla's role in the controversy was now undeniable, and for the first time, the royal family's meticulously maintained image was in jeopardy. The pressure increased as the probe became more thorough. As Prince William and Catherine silently backed Anne in her efforts to promote transparency, understanding that they had to behave in the best interests of the monarchy regardless of the tensions within the family. Their backing was essential, particularly since the Windsor royal family was about to undergo a radical change. As the gossip outside the palace increased in volume, the tabloids started spreading rumors, which fueled the flames. The royal family was obviously dealing with a crisis of never-before-seen magnitude. Tension was evident when the royal family convened to talk about the escalating controversy. Between his passion for Camilla and his responsibilities as king, Charles was faced with an impossible choice. He was under a lot of pressure to act quickly. However, it was obvious that the integrity of the monarchy had to be the top priority. The monarch was forced to make a decision as the evidence grew, particularly the incriminating link between Camilla's inheritance and the brooch sale. Centuries of royal history weighed heavily on him as he sat at the head of the table. The foundation of the monarchy was duty, trust, and the knowledge that the crown's public duty could not be overshadowed by private affairs. As Charles signed the decree, the room became silent. It was a time of grief, not just because Camilla had lost her title, but also because the betrayal had shaken the monarchy to its foundation. The royal family was aware that this was only the start of a long and challenging journey, even as Charles made the agonizing choice. The scandal's effects would reverberate throughout Buckingham Palace and beyond, perhaps shattering the royal family in ways that would permanently alter the monarchy. One question stood out as the king's hand shook over the parchment. Would the monarchy make it through this crisis? Princess Anne's unwavering search for the truth resulted in a sudden change in the royal crisis. Anne, who is renowned for her candor and strong dedication to the monarchy's integrity, would not allow the Camilla incident to go unpunished. She quickly demanded a confidential check of the royal jewelry registry when the first rumors of the stolen brooch emerged. The royal household was rocked by this choice. Anne had good reason to be suspicious. Unsettling disparities surfaced once the audit got underway. Unrecorded transfers, missing paperwork, and enigmatic valuations that were intimately connected to Camilla's estate exposed a network of relationships that were impossible to overlook. Anne's keen observation and hard work revealed the royal facade's weaknesses. Before long, the palace was unable to ignore how serious the situation was. As the truth became known, the pressure increased on King Charles as well as Camilla. The monarch was forced into a difficult situation by Princess Anne's discoveries. A family that was torn between duty and loyalty now had a huge task ahead of them. The public's trust in the monarchy was at risk. What had started out as a private family situation was now of national concern. The family's cohesion was put to the test behind closed doors, with Anne, William, and Catherine calling for quick and decisive action to protect the reputation of the crown. There was no going back, and the clock was running out. It was up to the royal family to decide. Would they put the truth first, or would they keep protecting Camilla at the expense of their reputation? William and Catherine found themselves at the center of the royal crisis as it developed. They had their own struggle to win, but the survival of the monarchy was at stake, striking a balance between their responsibilities to the crown and their family. Prince William, divided between his duty as a future king and his affection for his family, discovered himself in a precarious situation. Although he was aware of the tremendous risks, he also recognized that the monarchy's integrity could not be jeopardized. Catherine was by William's side, always composed and balanced. She had a subtle but important part in determining the tone and wording of the royal family's reaction. Behind the scenes, they collaborated to develop a plan that would safeguard the monarchy's future while maintaining its heritage. Their unity became the strongest pillar of the royal family in spite of the chaos. Catherine's grace served to calm the escalating tension, and William's unwavering determination served as a reminder of the responsibility he had inherited. The pair maintained their focus on the greater picture, putting the monarchy's long-term survival ahead of their own personal complaints, even as rumors and media attention increased. The ultimate test of William and Catherine's choices was about to come, despite their preparations for the inevitable consequences. The future of the crown would depend on the decisions made by the royal family, who had reached a breaking point. The royal family was now preparing for the last showdown. The monarchy was at a crossroads as a result of Princess Anne's audit revealing indisputable proof and the growing pressure from all sides. Known for his calm manner, King Charles was profoundly impacted by the situation. Camilla's treachery was more than simply a personal one. It posed a threat to the royal family's very basis. The world was watching him, and his leadership was under scrutiny. Loyalty to the monarchy had always been important to the king. However, he was in a terrible predicament where his obligations as king and his devotion to his wife conflicted. As the choice approached, it became evident that the monarchy's requirement for continuity and purity would determine Camilla's destiny in the royal family, not love or forgiveness. No matter who was implicated, the crown, a representation of authority and accountability, could not afford the taint of scandal. The brooch was no longer the only issue in the situation. It concerned the royal family's capacity to uphold its honor and power in the face of treachery. Charles had to put the future of the monarchy ahead of his own feelings, even though he knew that every action he made from now on would be closely examined. He now had to bear the burden of centuries of regal custom. and the monarch had to face the truth in the last few hours before the unavoidable disclosure. His first responsibility must be to the crown. Camilla's future is uncertain. Balance. The royal family had to make a significant choice that would impact not only their own lives, but also the destiny of the kingdom. The brooch controversy had revealed much more than a straightforward error. It had shown a rift in the royal family that would require severe measures to mend. King Charles struggled to decide between duty to the kingdom and loyalty to his bride as he got ready to make his ultimate choice. He loved Camilla personally, but the integrity of the monarchy could no longer be jeopardized. It became crucial to the royal family's reputation, and it became evident that failure to act quickly threatened the monarchy's legacy. History would be permanently changed by Charles's choice, which would establish a new standard for the royal family's handling of controversies. The most valuable symbols of the monarchy, the royal jewels, are currently at the focus of the dispute. Its legitimacy, tradition, and history were under jeopardy. There was more to the brooch than just jewelry. It stood for all that the monarchy had spent years defending. Not that the royal family was unaware of this fact, and it became clear as the hours passed that the monarchy would never return to the same state. The family had been ripped apart by this tragedy, but facing the reality was the only way to move on. Would King Charles be strong enough to defend the throne no matter what? Or would the monarchy as we know it end because of this scandal? The royal family had never experienced anything like the media hysteria that surrounded Camilla's controversy. The narrative gathered steam with every hour that went by, inundating news sources worldwide. Royal scandal and monarchy in danger were all over the media, from London to New York. The media swiftly took notice of the specifics, making wild assumptions about the meaning of the sapphire brooch and Camilla's possible decline in popularity. Every new report and leak only served to fan the flames. The royal family, which had long stood for tradition and stability, was now under close examination. Alongside the story, TV series, tabloids, and social networking sites speculated about the monarchy's future and drew comparisons to previous royal scandals. However, the actual query that everyone had was straightforward. What was King Charles going to do? Reporters bombarded the palace with questions, demanding answers that nobody could provide. However, behind the royal gates, the family itself was struggling with a question. For how long could they conceal the truth? Like the royal families, the public's response was split. Some individuals supported the king because they recognized how important it was for him to uphold the integrity of the monarchy. Others sympathized with Camilla and thought there was a larger plot behind the issue. Some even likened the problem to the notorious royal affairs of the past, implying that scandal had once again engulfed the kingdom. Regardless of what the general population thought, one thing was obvious. The following move had the potential to either stabilize or completely destroy the monarchy's already precarious standing. The royal family understood they needed to move quickly as they made their way through the storm. Their next action would affect not just Camilla's future, but also the future of the British monarchy as a whole, with the entire world watching. For the British royal family, the time for reckoning had come. The truth was now out, and Camilla could no longer claim her position. The monarchy had overcome the most dire crisis in contemporary history. However, this scandal's repercussions were far from ended. Regarding King Charles, the decision to deprive Camilla of her royal responsibilities was difficult, but it was the only one that could protect the crown's legacy. However, the repercussions were severe for the entire monarchy, not just Camilla. The royal family stood in the shadow of this momentous occasion, while the rest of the world awaited the king's farewell address. There was no turning back now that the generations-old trust was under jeopardy. This controversy served as a reminder to the royal family of the fine line they have to walk between tradition, duty, and loyalty. The world will soon find out if the monarchy could withstand the test being put to its fundamental foundation. Camilla and the brooch weren't the only factors in King Charles's choice. The monarchy itself was at issue. Although the crown had long represented stability and continuity, it could no longer afford to overlook the foundation's fissures. In order to preserve the monarchy's resilience in the face of hardship, the royal family would have to balance their public persona with their personal hardships in the days ahead. The future of the monarchy hinged on their capacity to handle this crisis with poise, discernment, and unflinching determination. The weight of an era would be on the king's next words as he readied himself to address the country. The war was only getting started for the royal family. How would their future be affected by this scandal? And how would they restore the lost trust? As the monarchy battled to mend its most severe wound, the solution would become clear in the upcoming weeks. This was a turning point, not merely a controversy. The future of the royal family and possibly the monarchy as a whole will be shaped by what transpires next. As the tale of love, treachery, and the royal crown continues to develop in front of our eyes, stay tuned.